In order to establish a prima facie case for the intentional tort of false imprisonment, the following elements must be proven by the preponderance of the evidence. 1. The defendant intended to confine him. 2. The plaintiff was conscious of the confinement. 3. That the plaintiff did not consent to the confinement. And 4. The confinement was not otherwise privileged. Bribery elements. An act or omission to act on the part of the defendant that confines or restrains the plaintiff to a bounded area. 2. Intent on the part of the defendant to confine or restrain the plaintiff to a bounded area. And 3. Causation. In order to establish a prima facie case for the intentional tort of intentional infliction of emotional distress, the following elements must be proven by the preponderance of the evidence. Number 1, that the conduct of the defendant was extreme and outrageous, that the emotional distress suffered by the plaintiff was severe, and that the defendant desired to inflict severe emotional distress or knew that the severe emotional distress would be certain or substantially certain to result from his conduct. Bribery elements. 1. An act defendant amounting to extreme and outrageous conduct. 2. Intent on the part of the defendant to cause plaintiff to suffer severe emotional distress or recklessness as the effect of defendant's conduct. 3. Causation. And 4. Damages severe emotional distress. Okay. In order to establish a prima facie case for the intentional tort of trespass to chattel, the following elements must be proven by the preponderance of the evidence. A. He disposes the other of the chattel, or B. The chattel is impaired as to its condition, quality, or value, or C. The possessor is deprived of the use of the chattel for a substantial time, or D. Bodily harm is caused to the possessor, or harm is caused to some person or thing in which the possessor has illegally. Bribery elements. 1. An act by the defendant interfering with plaintiff's right of possession in the chattel. 2. Intent to perform the act bringing about the interference with plaintiff's right of possession. 3. Causation. And 4. Damages. In order to establish a prima facie case for the intentional tort of conversion, the following elements must be proven by the preponderance of the evidence. A. Extent and duration of control. B. Defendant's intent, claim a right to the property. C. Defendant's good faith. D. Harm done. And E. Expense or inconvenience caused. Bribery elements. 1. An act by the defendant interfering with plaintiff's right of possession in the chattel. 2. Intent to perform the act bringing about the interference with plaintiff's right of possession. 3. Causation. And 4. Damages and interference that is serious enough in nature or consequences to warrant that the defendant pay the full value of the chattel. In order to establish a prima facie case for the intentional tort of misrepresentation, the following elements must be proven by the preponderance of the evidence. 1. Constitutes fraud. 2. And is actionable. 3. Whether it causes personal injury or only economic harm. In order to establish a prima facie case for the intentional tort of defamation, the following elements must be proven by the preponderance of the evidence. 522 SO period 2D 1097. 1. A false and defamatory statement concerning another. 2. An unprivileged publication to a third party. 3. Fault, negligence, or greater on the part of the publisher. And 4. Resulting injury. To create liability for defamation, there must be an unprivileged publication of false and defamatory matter of another which A. is actionable irrespective of special harm, or B, if not so actionable, is the legal cause of special harm to the other. In order to establish a prima facie case for the intentional tort of invasion of privacy, the following elements must be proven by the preponderance of the evidence: a unreasonable intrusion upon an individual's seclusion or solitude; B, unreasonable appropriation of an individual's name or likeness for the use or benefit of the appropriator; C, publicity that unreasonably places an individual in false light before the public, or D, unreasonable publicity of embarrassing facts of an individual's private life. In order to establish a prima facie case for the intentional tort of invasion of privacy, the following elements must be proven by the preponderance of the evidence. Tate versus Women's Hospital Foundation. A, by appropriating an individual's name or likeness. B, by unreasonably intruding on physical solitude or seclusion. C, by giving publicity which unreasonably places a person in a false light before the public. And D, by unreasonable public disclosure of embarrassing private facts. In order to establish a prima facie case for the intentional tort of intrusion into the plaintiff's solitude, the following elements must be proven by the preponderance of the evidence. 1, the act of prying or intruding into my private space. 2, must be offensive or objectionable to a reasonable person. 3, the intrusion must take place in a private area. In order to establish a prima facie case for the intentional tort of false light, the following elements must be proven by the preponderance of the evidence. 1, it must be objectionable to a reasonable person. 2, it must be published. 3, if it is public matter, then motive must be found. In order to establish a prima facie case for the intentional tort of interference with the business contract, the following elements must be proven by the preponderance of the evidence. 1, there must exist a valid contractual relationship or a business expectancy with a business and a third party. 2, the defendant must have knowledge of this relationship or expectancy. 3, the defendant's knowledge of the relationship must be used in a way that is intentional and interferes with the business contract. 4, damages